the subject we're talking about is improving the sustainable credentials of the denim industry. So that assumes there are credentials now. So why don't we start from the beginning, and we'll go around to everybody. If you could all take a few minutes to answer the question, what are the current credentials? And then we could talk about improving them and growing them. So we'll start from the far end, if that's all right.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So I think Bangladesh has come a long way in its history of apparel manufacturing, especially in the last 5 years. We've made great improvements. If you look at the number of green factories that have been put up, it's actually the highest in the world in terms of the LEED certified green factories. These are more general industry kind of numbers, right? Not necessarily with the denim industry, but for the apparel manufacturing. We have among the safest factories in the world right now with the recent initiatives with the Accord Alliance, where all the factories are up to the NFPA standards in terms of fire and electrical safety. So I think that's a great achievement that we should all be proud of. In fact, I can safely say that these factories are much safer than a lot of our neighboring countries, which are competitors. And I think that's obviously a new standard for the entire industry globally. So I think in terms of coming back to the denim sustainability, we are also doing a lot of different initiatives. If you look at the amount of investment that's gone in the laundries and the denim mills, we actually have among the best machinery, a lot of European machines, front-loading washing machines. So the standard has been quite high for some time, and we continue to invest going forward. I know we'll talk more about that. So I think if you look at kind of the volume of denim that's being made out of Bangladesh and the overall impact, if you were to look at the water usage or carbon footprint and so on, I think we're actually quite ahead in terms of the rest of the countries. And of course, it's only a start. We're continuing to invest, so we'll definitely talk more about the initiatives that are coming up.
Okay, great. Please, Ms. Samaya.
Thank you, Andrew, to give me this opportunity to be in this panel discussion with all of you guys. First of all, I'd like to start saying that we have to change our mindset. Whatever it is, we have to change our mindset in terms of sustainability. So my question to all of you, what is sustainability? What is sustainable?
All right, so that's a really great question, and I'd like to actually even pitch it to people in the audience. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
So, does anybody here actually know what sustainability is? Does anybody want to stand up and tell us? Because we all use the word constantly, and I really wonder whether people really understand what's the word, and does anybody want to answer that? If not, then we'll go to the panel. So we'll let Hannah answer the question first. She's in the press.
So I will.
Or you want to go first?
Oh, okay.
You go first.
I have a lot of things to say.
Go ahead.
When I start about sustainability, there are lot of things to say. So it's better you go ahead. No?
You go ahead.
Okay. So to be honest, I'm here to represent my company, which is Jamuna Group. So Jamuna Group, we think sustainability is Jamuna's requirements. It's not any customers, not any brand's responsibility. It's Jamuna's requirements, Jamuna's responsibilities. It's all about us. It's not about, what others are thinking, what my customers are thinking, what people are thinking. No, it's about us. We have to save the planet. We're not only getting the orders from the customers, we have to buy these machines, we have to buy those chemicals. No, it shouldn't be like that. We have to think of the planet, how we can save the planet, how we can save the water resources, how we can save energy. In order to do that, of course, we have to invest a lot of money, which I have doing it, and in future I will do more. Because, I'm coming up with some other meal also, which I should not explain here because a lot of list will come up. But I will go with the solar plant and, the jute boiler. So this kind of things I will do. This I will do not for Jamuna. I will do for my country, for my nation. So this is a few of it. So maybe I can come back.
Please pass it around. It's a perfect question. Hannah?
Hello, everyone. Right, so if we're going to go with the topic of sustainability, looking at it from a press point of view, sustainability isn't a decision that's made today for today, or today for tomorrow even. It's today forever. It's a decision that we make today that's going to impact the rest of the world for the rest of their lives. So even when we're gone, our children, their children, and so on and so forth. And I think that's really important. And one thing that I have noticed is, from a press point of view, it's that, like what Sabine mentioned earlier, when you Google Bangladesh, the first thing that will come up is Rana Plaza and the negative effects of it and so on and so forth. However, to look at the fact that that was 2013, we're now in 2019, in 6 years, the strides that this industry has made has been pretty impressive. And I think that goes a long way in terms of answering the question as to what is sustainability. This industry is going off its own back to make itself green, to make itself better, to put itself out there as being competitive with the other manufacturing sourcing countries of the world. So I think, really, when you answer the question, what is sustainability, I think the crux of it has to be a decision that is made today to impact the environment in a better way, but one that is going to be lifelong.
Hi, thanks very much for the invitation. It's much appreciated. It's my first time in Dhaka, but the ministry has been a long-time partner of the government of Bangladesh and the industry. What sustainability means to us is in two ways. We've been here in a long-term partnership and we wish to continue that for a long time, and that also hinges on the industry to look forward and think about what it takes for them to be here in the next decades and remain competitive. Now, if we look at what's been going on over the past years in terms of sustainability, policy-wise, we've seen the Paris Accord, we've seen the Sustainable Development Goals, and we've seen a growing importance. And I cannot stress this enough at every occasion. The current trade preferences, everything but arms, are really important for the export of the sector. Now, we're with Bangladesh on the road to its graduation to becoming a middle-income country in 2024. What we see is that the terms of these trade preferences include much more sustainability demands. And we're with the industry on the path to realizing and making sure that the adaptations, notwithstanding all the progress that has been made, because I completely agree, on at least our side of the world, we remain too much in the picture of Rana Plaza, rather than realizing how much has been changed and how much effort's gone into it. We want to help take that even further and champion with the companies here.
Thank you. At H&M, our business idea is very simple. Fashion and quality at the best price in a sustainable way. So anything and everything that we do, we want to do it in a sustainable way. Well, if you talk about climate change, if you talk about recycle to reuse, buying the most expensive and offensive machine that we have available, the technology, of course we all need this. That's the one part of sustainability. At H&M, we have a very clearly two part. Another is the human being, the people who produce those garments behind it, because that's super important. Why it is super important? Because if you don't have a very social balance, what are you going to do with this? Who's going to live here? That's very, very important. How the people behind these garments actually has been treated. Are they treated well? Did we pay the fair wages? Was it a good working condition, safe working conditions? Is super important. If we say, hey, I'm not going to pollute the water, who's going to use this water? Is the people, right? So it's very important for us. For us, sustainability is very simple. You are responsible for people, you're responsible for your mother nature.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the audience and the distinguished guest for this important dialogue to be a part of this. My name is Khalil. I am representing a company called Carrefour, Global Sourcing Asia. Regarding the sustainability, is I would say in a nutshell answer is like, for me, is a three topic for commitment to the climates, which is betterment for the climates, It could be the zero emissions. It could be people are talking about the minus 1.5 degree by 2030 to 2050, about 2100. It could be the commitment to the oceans, example like single-use poly. It could be the get back to the nature of the biodiversifications. So if we have a little bit refresh of the fashion impact being treated in August, which is over 50 brands, 50 company, good for the audience to refresh this information, and which is covering 250 brands. And the more of the company and the more of the brands coming up this treaty of the fashion pacts is happening in Europe, Paris. And we at the company, not only having the signing of this treaty, we at the company also getting initiative from the very beginning. So the company perspective, it is our responsibility to have the commitments. And if we look back of the country of Asia footprint, we are having office in Bangladesh. You must be happy. I would also request to the audience, you also must be happy to hear our local talent in Bangladesh who are proposing a multifunctional offering of the sustainable product, how it can be on the product, how it can be sourced, how it can be the cost effective. So all the way we are in a good shape, I would say, is no more challenge now, is a more of the opportunity when we talk about the sustainability.
Okay, so I have a question for all of you. If you do a Google search, I'm a big fan of Google, and if you do a Google search, and I did that before I came here, on fresh water, and I Google searched fresh water per capita globally. And there's the World Bank has a report. It's an old report. The statistics are back to 2015, I think. But it basically tells you this. I'm from Canada. So in Canada, we have 80,000 cubic meters of water per person. 80,000. The United States, where I live, has 8,000. Bangladesh has 600. Ethiopia has 20. So there's a lot of talk of companies going to Ethiopia to produce, but they have no water. They basically have no water. Even Bangladesh's water is very, very limited. So Alice Tanello, who's a good friend of mine, she said that she has a washing machine that take the liquor ratio down to such a level that she only uses 7 liters of water per jean. So I said, well, why don't you give them back the 7 liters? Because you're depleting the country of 7 liters. So my question to all of you is, if the water situation is the way it is, and jeans industry uses a lot of water, and denim manufacturing uses a lot of water, even with Alice Tanello's machine, what happens? There's not an unlimited supply of water here. What is the plan for that as a citizen? I'm not asking you as a business. I'm asking you as a citizen. How do you handle that? What do you think we should do?
So, Andrew, I think that's a good question. It's a kind of a new issue, right? So we weren't worried about water 10 years.
It's not a new issue. It's a very public figure.
Yeah, I guess let's step back a little bit, right? So, you talk about Canada. I was in Europe, in Amsterdam 2 weeks ago at your fair. All the canals, it's beautiful, right? Like fresh water. I'm like, how come the canals don't stink like they do in, maybe Bangladesh? And so, it's quite nice in Europe. And the way you've done it is you've stopped making clothes. You haven't really innovated with new machines or new production techniques. What you've done is you've outsourced the entire production to Asia, right? So, so that's why I'm saying it's a new thing, and that's only happened in the last 40 years. And some of these machines didn't really exist. And the innovation didn't exist. It's only being kind of invented now. So I think, and also the production of jeans has gone up many, many times in the last 10 years or 15 years. So I think that's why the issue is quite new, relatively new. And, we're worried, right? So Bangladesh, again, like it's a water-stressed country. We don't like to have, stinky canals, polluted rivers and all of that. And people are getting more aware, and thankfully the Europeans and the Americans are also getting aware, even though the water there is quite clean, but it's good to know that they care about the water here in Bangladesh and other countries where the goods are being produced. So I think coming to your question, it's a lot of innovation that's going on. And so there's a lot of investment that's also happening. So it's kind of a partnership, right? So one is like there's innovation from the machine manufacturers. There's investment from the apparel and fabric manufacturers like us here in Bangladesh. And I think there's greater kind of consciousness or realization of the topics from consumers in the West. So it kind of is a cycle. And so customers like H&M and others are actually pushing us for solutions. They don't have all the solutions, but we have a general direction where we want to be in the next 10 years. And so we have goals. So where we want to be by 2030, H&M has said they want to get into renewable energy, sustainable cotton. Obviously, from a water perspective, we want to be 100% water neutral, if you will, right? So
yes, that's the dream.
So that's the goal, actually. And it's new because we weren't there 100 years back or even 30 years back. So the goal is actually how are we going to get there in 10 years from today?
So that's the defined goals, to be water neutral?
I mean, okay, maybe even earlier, right? But yes, I think so. I mean, that's the way
great.
to go. So one is obviously we're investing in the machines. We started with the belly machines, talking about 50, 60 liters of water, even more actually, 90. And now we're down to about 15 with, so we invested in the front-loading machines. And then even beyond that, now we're investing in additional kind of innovation along with those machines like e-flow or kind of the water circulation, like different names by the different manufacturers. So those are additional investments that are going in. And so, it's reducing the water input. So that's number one. Number two is we're investing in water recycling. So that's also a goal that's, being pushed by our customers. Because everything we do has to be kind of, as I said, in a loop, right? So, the technology has to be cost effective. We can't pay millions of dollars that, we can't afford.
Well, cost effective is if the brands agree to pay it.
Well, I mean, they'd only pay a certain amount, right? I mean, again, if it's prohibitively expensive.
Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
If a brand understands the water deficiency of the country,
it's an externality, right?
If they want to support the country,
well, why would they
want
to support?
That is not going to hurt the country.
It's not built into the costing. It's not like the European government has imposed a tax.
I'll let you handle that one. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, so I'm just, sorry, Zebha, I'll just finish. So I think it's a partnership. So one is, I mentioned the technology, but on the other hand, the other extreme is the brands. And I think they do want to do more. They want to pay more, and we're doing different programs. We're doing a conscious collection with H&M, Join Life for Inditex, different things. Levi's has like a waterless program and so on. So we're trying to figure out ways where we can get the consumer to pay more for a more, sustainable jeans. And it's a market economy, right? So you have other brands maybe which are not doing that, and they're selling clothes cheaper.
Let somebody else talk for a second.
Okay, sorry.
Ladies next.
So I'll just pass on, but it's a partnership between a lot of different people.
Here.
I want to add one point here.
Please.
It's not, as I said before, it's not only about the machines. Yeah, of course, before we were using the belly machines, liquor ratio 1:12, 1:15. Now we're moving it to all front-loading machines. That's a different thing. But ETP has to be 80% reuse of ETP. I know it's quite expensive, but I think it's worth it. Because the amount of water that we're using in our productions, not only production to clean the floor or whatsoever, if we have, reuse of ETP, it's going to save a lot of water, for sure, if you agree with it.
I agree. Hannah?
In answer to your question, quite simply, if they run out of water, jeans production stops. If that stops, to put it bluntly, it's going to hit this country where it hurts. And I think the thing is, yes, while the onus is on suppliers to innovate, to put the measures in place to ensure that they are replenishing the water stocks that are being lost, buyers also have a responsibility, given the amount they are sourcing from this country, to ensure that they are investing in helping the suppliers do that. Just back to your point on the consumers and charging the consumers more for jeans. The problem is, I've not heard the word consumers mentioned much throughout the SAF yesterday or throughout the course of today. if we're looking at closing the loop, the consumers have to be brought in. Now, the thing is, this is my first time in Bangladesh, and it's the first time I've actually visited a denim factory. And for me, the most eye-opening thing was the amount of manual labor that goes into producing just one pair of jeans. Now, if I don't know that, as a journalist writing for this industry, how is the consumer going to know that? The thing is, this needs to be marketed better, it needs to be communicated better to consumers, and brands have a responsibility in communicating that to the consumers, however they choose to do that. And that's the only way that this entire cycle is going to change, in my opinion.
So my question to you as the Netherlands, how is your position on the water situation specifically?
Well, we are in a relatively similar situation as Bangladesh historically, as we've also fought the water. But in this particular case, when I look at consumers in my own country, we have water in abundance, and we do not even come close to the realization on the consumer side what goes into it. And even when we know a lot of water and manual labor goes into it, the connection isn't there to make the decision in the shop. Now, as the ministry, we recognize this, and I'm glad you pointed out the cost effectiveness of a program of changing the way of production. And this is not in Bangladesh, but for example, in the Shanghai region, we set up a pilot project to, in a factory, reduce the ecological footprint, including water, show that it reduces costs, improves the health and the production of workers. And in parallel with that, we set up this public campaign to create awareness amongst Chinese citizens with billboards and all, to make them realize as well what impact it can have, not only the status quo, but how much it can improve. And in these situations, we try to work as such.
Well, thank you. First, what to do in H&M? I will just tell that, but that was not the question. In H&M, we have more than 120 ETP, which is green, which cover more than 97% of the sourcing that we do it here. So I can tell H&M is not a part of the polluting the rivers here, but that doesn't solve the problem. I think we need to understand how this industry grown here. It was not grown really in a planned way. It was strong entrepreneurship from the Bangladeshi, which just bring us here. So what happened, our country didn't face a problem like Pakistan face a problem, or maybe South Africa face a problem, that here if you have a space, you put a pipe underneath, you have a water. First, we need a legislation here. Water should cost money. And I can tell from brand side, we are ready to pay for it, if you can justify it. So from the government side, I think we need to put it there. First, the government says, okay, you put a meter on top of it.
Yes.
They did that, but
Yes.
What the meter is saying, nobody is there. That's the responsibility government should take.
Yes.
Well, and then if you go for the second layer, corruption is one of the biggest struggle that we have in this country. Unfortunately, I'm Bangladeshi, but I'm saying it as well. That's because our index for the corruption is really low. That's the another part. If the ETP is not working, there is a government side also, there is a one authority who should go and check it, all these things. I'm not pointing out who is doing what, but I'm saying there is a room where we can do a lot of things and probably not doing a lot of things, not doing at all. These are the other one part of this industry here. But I want to point a finger a little bit on I think in the Europe and the USA as well. Because there is a lot of buyers. I will come back soon. I really need to tell. There is a lot of buyers still. They just have a briefcase. They come in this country with the visa entry, place a order. They really don't care where it is produced. I think somehow we need to address it. So we need a responsible buyer as well.
Totally.
Thank you so much.
Jebhai, I'm just have little bit different, it's not different opinion, but differently saying, like for, yeah, to taking of the responsibility of the customer perspective. I'm not saying that we are doing, yes, we are complying, and we also have all the ETB in the green, and we also working with the vendors for the zero discharge policy, what Rosalind is saying. And Asif Bhai also saying like for the investment of reducing of the water. Yes, we push all the factories and our partners to have more investment of, and our product, we look on our product to have the sustainable, less waters of putting the laser machines and also perspective of the customers and design portfolio. But the mostly is, the area is we look on the water. Water is how we are building in the costing. Is it the free of charge? Are we in the European and Western country that the water is very expensive? That may be the question. And adding on the GFI question of the legislation of the country, I think is a long way to go. We need the common dialogue about this. But the point is, you were asking the question is very crucial at the moment in Bangladesh.
Well, I asked the question only because as a nation, the only reason you're a nation is to look after each other. So at a certain point, if business is actually causing damage to your nation, in the long term, one has to pay attention to it. So you brought up a really interesting point, which is that the government should have some sort of involvement in the issue. How do you get the government involved?
Yeah, well, I am not Mr. Answer here. I don't even know how to answer you. First of all, I see a lot of positive intention from the government. Yesterday and today, I met with two big high officials from government. I'm very thankful to them. They visit our stall as well. Two ministers came, and I told them those things also. We can address these things. The new leadership from the BGMEA can play a vital role. We even had a discussion in the Buyers Forum, and even Mr. Rubana was very positive that, okay, we can bring in those discussions. I don't think that we just need to wait that government will do something. The whole theme of the denim, this time is Denim Expo is a responsibility. That's the slogan we have. It is our responsibility as well that we better knock to the government, hey, this is how we do it. We can talk about technology. We can talk about man knowledge and man behind the machines as well. We can talk about a lot of other things. But the moment we want to make a real change out of it, we need to address ourselves because it starts from us. It starts from me, first of all. I think we address it to the government and let's see. I really don't have the answer. I don't know. Okay. I really don't know.
So can we move the subject to energy? So, Ms. Sumaya, do you want to talk about energy? Because you mentioned a little bit about it.
Yeah. As I said before, we are coming up with solar plant for my company. And
so what does that mean? Are you guys going to be 5% of your energy, 2%,
actually,
70%?
we started working on this project because, as I said, I will do it for my polyester textile mill, which is coming up end of next year. Yes. So my chairman, he is working on it. So next time, I will let you know more in details because, he's the one who is dealing all this thing.
Mr. Zafir, do you mind to talk about energy a little bit, about your plans with energy and how you're going to deal with it?
So energy is, again, a difficult topic for Bangladesh because energy is very expensive. And so one is, we're looking at solar, but what we have seen in the past is solar, the sun doesn't shine a lot in Bangladesh. It's rainy and cloudy for 6 months. So the payback on solar that we have calculated is about 11 to 12 years. And so the only way we can implement solar is if we have access to kind of long-term, low-cost financing of maybe, similar length, at least 8 years, 10 years. So there are some programs available for that. And we have solar in a very limited way in our factories. Again, because our garment factories are multi-storied, we don't have a lot of footprint to actually put a lot of solar panels. So, and again, wind is also not really explored in Bangladesh, and it's more of a large-scale wind farm kind of concept. So there's very little we can do as an individual producer on the renewables, but what we can do is we can try to reduce our energy footprint.
Footprint, yes.
Right, so that's kind of where we can play a part, and anything we can reduce in terms of the consumption, hopefully has the same effect. So that's what we're focused on. So there's a lot of technology, again, if you look at the lighting, the LED lights, there's better LED lights, again, from Europe, for example, that cost 5 times what the Chinese lights cost, but, the last 8 years, and they'll actually, reduce the bill. We have a lot of exhaust fans. We use a lot of energy for the ventilation in the factory. So similar things, you have better exhaust fans that can reduce the energy. So there's kind of, again, investments that can lead to like long-term paybacks on the energy. Again, same thing on the washing as well, like reducing the hot water. So we have low temperature enzymes, we're reducing the steam. So there are lots of ways where in the production process, we can actually reduce the energy consumption. So that's where we are focusing on, basically.
Okay. And as far as the brands go, do you have any demands on energy from the suppliers? Do you look into that? There's one there.
Well, thank you. From H&M side, we have a very bold goal that by 2040 we want to be a climate positive value chain. And if you see Bangladesh perspective, the government has a goal by 2030, 50% of the energy will come from the coal. So that was one of the inspiration.
From coal.
From coal, yeah. So that was one of the inspiration that we join this.
Right, that's quite scary thought.
Yeah, but we addressed it to the government, and I can tell you, I got a very positive from both the minister. I addressed it when they visited here. I got a very positive reply from them. So I'm not really worried about it. But we need to move forward out of it. But if you talk about present condition, what we are doing it, we tried it. We started solar energy. We started to use how efficient we could be on the energy, and best available options that we have in the market. I know solar doesn't cover, not much. But then whatever we have, we started somewhere. Yes. That I can say. Thank you.
We have like two very, very important projects. Solar, separate project. We always look up with the vendors. And we have always, for the factory, we focus over 30% of the factory. We have a more of energy efficient factory, which is investment. Initially is a big investment, but in the long run, is cost effective.
Thank you. Joost, how does your government look at the energy situation here?
What we do with the energy?
Yeah.
What we do?
Yeah.
Well, in addition to what I just mentioned, the kind of pilot programs that we try to implement, building on that, we should look at a different way to Bangladesh than a traditional development cooperation relationship and move towards a trade and equal relationship. We see that renewable energies are a promising sector in Bangladesh, and I'll keep it brief. We're trying to interest our renewable sector companies back home and knowledge centers to come here and conduct business to improve, but also to...
What can be done to help that happen?
Sorry?
What can be done to help that happen? What do you need? What are your obstacles?
Frankly, the perception of Bangladesh, it's still considered outside of the RMG sector as a difficult country to do business in. We try to shift that image by showing what's going well, what's been improved, and what the outlooks are. We scope missions to find the hard data where opportunities lie. So we show them numbers rather than tell them qualitative stories. And we have some examples, mostly in the maritime sector, of companies that succeed. And we wanted our so-called champions of doing business here to come back to the Netherlands and tell, well, you know, we got that you're stuck in your old perception, but listen to this story.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments to any of the speakers? Because we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. There's no questions? All right, we have 10 minutes left and there's 6 people here. So everybody has 1 minute and 37 seconds to talk about anything you want. I can suggest to you that maybe you want to give a picture of how you see the industry from a sustainable point of view in 5 years and 10 years. What can we expect? Do you want to start?
So I think, it's again, like we talked about why it's so important. There's no turning back. I think it's an issue, again, that's quite visible on the international community. It's talking about climate change, and it's all linked, right? So what we talk about in sustainability here at a broader level where people are talking about climate change and global warming and so on. And I think, so that change is happening from the consumer side, right? And that awareness has already started where young people who are buying a lot of clothes are very aware that, there are consequences to kind of overconsumption or kind of buying cheap clothes or clothes that are made in an unsustainable way. So I think this is only going to increase over the next 5-10 years. And the brands and the manufacturers that can adapt to that situation will eventually win out. So I think our customers do realize that, and that's why they're also pushing us in the right direction. So as tough as it is, we need to make those investments. We need to kind of adopt the innovative technologies. We need to figure out how to make sustainable production without raising the cost too much. And if the costs do go up, we need to have a way of paying for it, right? So obviously the brands need to pay us, but then they also need to kind of charge more to the end consumer. So again, it's a process, and I think we are in the right direction. And Bangladesh, again, being one of the major manufacturers of denim and jeans, is going to lead the way for sure. So I'm quite positive going forward. And I think in 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a big difference in terms of what we're talking about today. Those things will be real, like, zero liquid discharge, maybe 100% renewable energy, 100% recycled or sustainable fibers. So these are all going to come in. We're even more ambitious than that. We're talking about kind of complete circularity of production, taking back the old clothes, recycling it, and kind of making new clothes out of that. So maybe that's even more in the future. But we're talking about that, but in 5 to 10 years, it will become a reality. So I think we just need to kind of, keep working towards that goal.
Perfect.
Okay, sustainability. For last 1.5 years, trust me, I'm starting my day with this word, and whole day I'm searching, Googling, what is this? And what I can do. So in my company, my chairman, he is investing a lot in every sectors in terms of apparels, textiles and all. And I'm the one who is Googling and gathering information, talking to my friends, talking to my buyers, how and what more I can do and give some advices, little advices to my chairman. I want to make an history, I want to make an example in my country so that people like abroad, they can give Jamuna as an example, that Jamuna has done it. This is it.
That's brilliant.
I think in terms, again, of answering the sustainability question, it does need to be a coordinated effort, and I think that is on part of brands, suppliers, policymakers, and consumers. I think the conversation needs to be made more public. Like I said, there was a lot that I was unaware of in terms of denim manufacture. I think Bangladesh has a lot to be proud of. At the end of the day, it's the second largest manufacturer of denim in the world. That's huge. But there's people at the other end of that conversation that don't necessarily know that. I think there's an opportunity to be had. I think there's an opportunity to get more press out here, to get more bloggers, influencers out here and actually show them the ins and outs of the factories and what actually goes on in them. So they are actually aware of the effort that goes into producing the clothes that they consume. And when I say consume, I do actually mean consume. They can get hold of it so cheaply that they don't actually understand the effort that has gone into them. So I think it's more about having more conversations and creating a more joined up approach to sustainability.
5 and 10 years. Let's keep. Sorry? My question was how it's going to be in 5 and 10 years.
Well,
Because we keep moving along the line, and by the end of it, we're not even anywhere near the question.
So, if we're talking about 5 to 10 years, I cannot stress enough that there is simply a necessity to make the change, to retain, for example, the trade preferences it has with the EU. But that should not be the reason to make the change. We've been talking about consumers here slightly. I think it's been clear that that is not the way forward. If we let it depend on consumers, we'll not get there. That's exactly the reason why we're here. We've also been talking about brand power towards, for example, suppliers. It also goes towards consumers. If, as a brand, and as a supplier and as an industry in Bangladesh, you tell a positive story of what you're trying to do to make things better, in 5 to 10 years, not only will the situation be much improved, but people will know that Made in Bangladesh stands for something great and sustainable and fair, and that's what people want to buy.
Thank you. Very quickly, right? Our company's goal 2040, we want to be climate positive. We're going to drive that here. And I'm really, really hopeful because the entrepreneurship, the local entrepreneurship spirit that you have in Bangladesh, you can't find anywhere in the world. That inspires me every day. And we have a strong intention to be here. We have more than 630 people on ground here. We're going to stay here. And we're going to drive our sustainability agenda with our suppliers.
That's beautiful.
Positively say, like, we see enormous change next 5 to 10 down the line, because we embedded in our DNA about these changes is like not only always bottom up, is all sometimes is a top down approach. And we always having in trust in Bangladesh, been 18 years presence, our office in Bangladesh, global sourcing in Asia. And we are over 60 years company, 1.3 million customer every day in our store. We are offering organic foods. We are offering organic cotton. Is not really traditional organic cotton. Is a GMO free, genetically modified free seeds from the cottons, which is to the customer. So our customer also have the mindset of the organics food to the organics non-food products. So we are talking about the apparel, which is more of negative impact of the global warming. That's the reality we acknowledged. So we trust 100% in Bangladesh entrepreneurs, and coming up we see especially last 5 years, especially last 2 years, and this momentum, if we keep continue, I would say next 5 years we will see the enormous change in Bangladesh.
That's awfully good news. So I just want to end this session. First of all, I want to thank all of the speakers. You were fantastic, and everybody got a better view of the future in the current situation. I want to just say one thing, because the question that was posed earlier was, what is sustainability? And in our company, we're trying to wean ourselves off the word. It's kind of like premium denim. Nobody knows anymore what premium denim is, and nobody really knows what sustainability is. So the word that we kind of are using is rational. So you don't need to be a chemist, or you don't need to be a scientist to know what's rational and what's not rational, or what's rational or what's irrational. So that's my final thought for today. If everyone does the rational, I think everything will be fantastic. Thank you all.